Thank you, Mr. Vesh. And now, for the inaugural address by our chief guest, Sri M.K. Narayanan, the Governor of West Bengal.
Sri Ajit Singh, Honorable Minister for Civil Aviation, Government of India, Mr. Sandeepan Chakravarti, Chairman, Organizing Committee of the PANIIT Global Conference being held in Calcutta, Mr. H.R. Weiss, Chairman of the PANIIT, Anirudh Lahiri, Chairman, Sponsorship Committee. And I can recognize in the audience Ambassador Nancy Powell, Lord Kumar Bhattacharya, Mr. ITC, that is Yogi Deveshwar, Mr. Nandan Nilekani, and Dr. Purnendu Chatterjee. First and foremost, as the Governor of West Bengal, may I welcome all of you who have come from outside Bengal for this global conference. Bengal is your home for the next few days. Calcutta, of course, is the place where you will be. So I wish you a very warm welcome on behalf of the government and the citizens of Bengal. I am privileged to address the PANIIT 2012 Global Conference being held in Kolkata, if I understand, for the first time. I understand that the conference is held alternatively in India and the United States, the two immediately preceding conferences having been held in New York in 2011 and Mumbai in 2010. I just heard Mr. Sandeepan Chakravarti say that he feels very old, but he passed out only in 1970. I am a senior by 16 years. I passed out in 1954. So if he's old, I'm ancient. Yet, an opportunity to address a high-powered group of this kind does not come often. I therefore accepted the challenge and the offer made to me by Mr. Sandeepan Chakravarti. Though, standing here before you, I feel overawed by the presence of such eminent professionals who have not only made a name for themselves, but have left an indelible mark or stamp of excellence on whatever they have attempted. As India's National Security Advisor for nearly 5.5 years, between 2004 and 2010, I still recall with pride the numerous occasions while accompanying our Prime Minister on his visits to different world capitals or to international gatherings, that whenever a reference was made to IITs, it evoked ready recognition and admiration. The acronym IIT is evidently amongst the best recognized acronyms across the world. If there is truly one high-worth Indian brand, it is IIT and not ITC. Distinguished delegates, stating the obvious is the easy part of my inaugural address. The difficult part is what else should I say to this very distinguished audience. It is well known that our IITs are the only Indian institutions that are closest to being world-class. Merely extolling the many achievements of the IIT alumni will only produce a polite yawn from all of you who are present here. Consequently, when Mr. Sandeepan Chakravarti asked me to inaugurate this year's PAN-IIT Global Conference, I knew I would have to do better than this. Let me share a secret with you here. Very early in my career, which spans more than 5 decades, I learned a few tricks. Namely, that if you are called upon to speak to a group of senior military officials, generals and admirals and whatnot, talk to them of diplomacy and foreign policy issues. If you are asked to speak to diplomats and bureaucrats, talk to them about some aspect of military strategy and tactics. I might assure you that this has succeeded far more than you could possibly think. Hence, I thought that rather than talking of technology and technological excellence and the role of IITs in molding the future of the country and the world, I would talk to you about the India of today in a fast evolving world. I'm conscious that many of you do not live in this country and are possibly buffeted by highly negative perceptions of India that feature in the media and outside it. What I say today will hence appear very different to you. IIT alumni, it is no secret that India is at a pivotal moment in its history. The world's image of India has undergone a profound change in recent years. Few can also deny India's achievements during the past quarter of a century of having emerged stronger economically and suitably positioning itself strategically and diplomatically. I might add that the shift in global perceptions stems not only from India's new wealth, status, power, and influence, but reflects an appreciation worldwide of its unique strengths and philosophical tradition that lays great stress on assimilation from other cultures and traditions. These are, however, challenging times, more so on the economic front. Recently, there has been a great deal of negative publicity about the decline in India's growth rate over the past 2 years and the reasons for this. This has induced an unwarranted degree of pessimism that can prove highly deleterious to India's future growth. My objective today is therefore to urge you to look at the positive in India's story. For instance, India's potential rate of growth may be lower than that of China's, but it has consistently maintained a growth rate of around 7 to 8% for the best part of the past decade. While this has dropped a little in recent years to around 6%, most of you would be aware that India is still the world's second fastest growing economy and a member of the $1 trillion club. Also, despite inflationary pressures and an adverse external environment, the fundamentals of our economy continue to remain strong. India has a robust investment to GDP ratio, investing as much as 35% of its GDP, and its saving rate is around 31%. Ladies and gentlemen, the real Indian story is much more than this. The magnitude and scale of the socio-economic programs that have lifted many millions out of poverty is seldom mentioned. That the standard of living of the poorest of the poor has improved substantially in recent years is often ignored. 2 decades of steady economic reforms has contributed to material improvements all round in average income and consumption levels. All this has been achieved, and I wish to stress this point, all this has been achieved under a functioning secular democracy, proving to the world that democracy works, and through the process of democracy can raise the standard of living of the marginalized sections of our country and also empower them. There are undeniably several roadblocks on the way to progress that still need to be addressed. Many of the challenges are techno-economic, as for instance, how to reach agronomic potential of our agricultural land, how to build and finance infrastructure to ensure rapid and inclusive growth, how to meet the energy deficit and achieve energy efficiency, how to open up the economy further without unduly disturbing the current equilibrium, which has ensured the upward mobility of the poorest segments. Food security is an important issue. The government at the center is wrestling with this issue as the financial costs involved in food subsidy are huge. Employment generation is also a matter of some concern. Several steps are being taken to overcome these hurdles, but we need perhaps to step up the pace. We also need to give greater impetus to technological and other kinds of innovation to give our economy the necessary boost, focusing both on medium and long-term gains. On the strategic and diplomatic plane, India is possibly better placed today than possibly at any time previously. First and foremost, our nation does not face any kind of an existential threat. The key imperative of our foreign policy is to ensure a peaceful and supportive external environment, especially in our neighborhood. With regard to common global challenges, such as the rapid spread of extremist and fundamentalist ideas, asymmetric warfare and terrorism, cyber warfare, pandemics, and the like, we are walking in step with the rest of the world without limiting our strategic autonomy or impacting our strategic space. We also engage extensively with countries across the globe, including with key powers such as the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, the European Union, and also Russia and Japan, Latin America, and Africa. India is an important constituent of the G20 and aspires to be a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Engaging with Asia is a key imperative for India today. India's diplomatic initiatives in Asia and also in Africa center mainly around aid and assistance to countries in these continents that are in need of such aid. A great deal of diplomatic effort and time goes into sustaining India's special relationship with countries of West Asia, where prevailing uncertainties do create difficulties. The potential for conflict and for strategic rivalry does exist in Asia. India faces problems in its relations with China, a country with which it has a long-standing border dispute, apart from being age-old rivals. Both India and China are, however, anxious, and I can say this from personal experience, having been a negotiator for 6 years, are anxious to lower the threshold of concern and have established several mechanisms and structures to avoid any kind of miscalculation or conflict, as also to deal with unintended consequences. With Pakistan, the situation is different. As a foreign analyst has observed, and I quote, Pakistan poses dangers to India because of the peculiar combination